So friends, Georgia State Court Judge Scott McAfee just dismissed two of the criminal charges against Donald Trump in Trump's Georgia State case. But let's not bury the lead. Judge McAfee upheld the main charge, the RICO charge. And therefore, down in Georgia, Donald Trump is still facing 8 criminal charges and decades in prison. Happy Friday, friends. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, anytime we have legal developments regarding Donald Trump and his merry band of thieves, we take them on. You know, whether it looks like good news or bad news, it really doesn't matter, because we are locked in this battle for accountability, right? For Donald Trump to be held accountable for his crimes. And at first blush, when I saw the developments in Donald Trump's Georgia State RICO case, it looked like it might be bad news. But friends, trust me when I say this is not a big deal. Indeed, this recent development with Judge Scott McAfee dismissing 2 of the counts against Donald Trump is barely a drop in the imprisonment bucket, given the crimes Donald Trump committed and the charges he is still facing down in Georgia. So let's start with the new reporting, this from NPR. Headline, 3 more counts are dismissed in the Trump indictment in Georgia. And that article begins, a judge has dismissed 3 more counts in the Georgia election interference case against former President Donald Trump and his allies. But in a separate ruling, the judge upheld the bedrock charge in the indictment, racketeering. In other words, the RICO charge. A grand jury indicted Trump and 18 others more than a year ago on charges that they attempted to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. 4 defendants have pleaded guilty. The 3 quashed counts, in other words, the 3 dismissed charges, counts 14, 15, and 27, all have to do with filing false documents to a federal court. Trump is charged with 2 of those 3 counts. Fulton Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee dismissed the 3 counts based on the Supremecy Clause of the U.S. Constitution, which says state law must yield to federal law when the 2 conflict. Trump will now face 8 felony counts, down from 13 in the original indictment. So friends, let's talk about the 3 main takeaways from this legal development. Scott McAfee dismissing 2 of the false documents charges against Donald Trump. First, and most importantly, Judge McAfee rejected Donald Trump's efforts to have the entire case dismissed, all of the charges, including the lead charge, a RICO charge. And friends, the RICO charge alone, count 1 of the 8 felony counts Donald Trump is still facing, the RICO charge carries up to 20 years in prison. So, you know, these false documents charges that were just dismissed, a drop in the imprisonment bucket. They mean nothing. Second takeaway, Judge McAfee dismissed these false documents charges based on a Supremacy Clause analysis. What does that mean? Well, the Supremacy Clause of the Constitution says when a federal law conflicts with a state law, the federal law wins. It rules. It controls. The state law yields. And even though Judge McAfee said, well, based on a Supremacy Clause analysis, I'm going to dismiss these false documents charges, he didn't say that they did not constitute crimes. He didn't say Donald Trump didn't commit those false documents crimes for which he was indicted, he basically said, well, these are probably more appropriately brought as federal crimes rather than state crimes in violation of Georgia law because of this perceived conflict between federal and state law. So it's not like he exonerated Donald Trump or even suggested he didn't commit these crimes, just that it looks like they're federal crimes. Jack Smith, if you're listening. Third takeaway, this decision can be appealed. And frankly, I think it might be appealed by the Georgia state prosecutors. You know, I read both of Judge McAfee's new rulings in the case. The first one was the 18-page ruling where he upheld the RICO charge and all 8 felony charges against Donald Trump, and also the 22-page ruling striking down the false documents charges. And I have to tell you, friends, I wasn't entirely persuaded by Judge McAfee's analysis, his rationale, and his conclusion that somehow there really is this fatal conflict between the federal law and the state law when it comes to the fake elector certificates, filing these false documents. I take a slightly different view, and I would kind of explain why that is, but it would take a whole hour-long Team Justice Law School class, and it's Friday. I'm not going to put you through that. But I have a feeling that the Georgia state prosecutors might appeal even this ruling that did away with 2 of the relatively minor crimes on which Donald Trump had been indicted. So 3 main takeaways, taken together. This doesn't mean anything with respect to the ongoing RICO prosecution against Donald Trump or the decades in prison he is facing and he will be facing once he's convicted. And friends, I believe he will be convicted of these crimes. The only thing that can stop it is not a jury of his peers. It's a corrupt, radical right-wing 6-justice block of Donald Trump's Supreme Court. That's the only thing standing between Donald Trump and a jail cell, accountability for his crimes. That and an election. Because I believe come November 6th, the day after the November 5th election, when Donald Trump loses in a landslide, that is the trajectory he is on at the moment, then he will be going to trial in case after case after case, not as a candidate for office, and certainly not as a president-elect, but a plain old citizen who has lived a life of crime. Yeah, those chickens will finally come home to roost. Because justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.